Back in the spring, after cleaning out my weedy front planter, Lorinda and I planted 2 tomato plants, and they looked to be equally healthy. We watered them both regularly, and we've grown tomatoes before, so we know a good bit about their care. We've planted a few, but we've also had plenty of volunteers. We've always saved coffee grounds to add as additional nutrient to the soil around them, and what's strange about this particular year and these 2 plants is that we planted them both at the same time, watered them and nourished them equally, but one plant just never produced. We've got plenty of tomatoes growing in on the one, but nothing on the other. It still looks healthy, and being only about 6 feet apart, we're a bit mystified at the difference in what they produce. Why is one doing so well when the other isn't? Jesus tells many parables about agriculture, and most of them deal with the fruitfulness of what's planted. And today I want to look at a parable that I think is a little less transparent than some of the others, even some of the other agricultural parables. It's found in Luke chapter 13 and starts in verse 6. Jesus says, "A man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came seeking fruit and found none. And he said to the vine dresser, 'Look, for 3 years now I have come seeking fruit on this fig tree, and I find none. Cut it down. Why should it use up the ground?' And he answered him, 'Sir, let it alone this year also, until I dig around it and put manure. Then, if it should bear fruit next year, well and good. But if not, you can cut it down.'" The owner of the vineyard has entrusted the care of that vineyard to a vine dresser. Note that Jesus doesn't call him a gardener. This man is a specialist. All sorts of knowledge and specialization, and he could focus his efforts at the increased production of grapes. But instead, he's brought his attention to the fig tree. Now, a fig tree is not a vine. Fig trees are trees, but they're really not even much more than a large bush. They're not very high off the ground at all. They're very easy to harvest. They're plenty hardy. And the master wanted the fig tree, and it seems that the vine dresser was happy to oblige him in the placement and tending of the tree over the course of 3 years. And now it should be producing fruit, and it's not. Both the vine dresser and the owner recognize that this shouldn't be the case. The vines are producing their fruit under the careful attention of the vine dresser. The soil is good, but maybe what it needs is something more than the grapes. The vine dresser is not remiss in his duties. He's going to infuse the soil with a greater concentration of nutrient in the hopes of the tree springing to fruit before the final verdict is brought in. He's hopeful, if realistic. If it should bear fruit next year, well and good, but if not, you can cut it down. Tomato plants don't survive the winter, at least not in the climates I've lived in. They have a life cycle that extends until the morning frosts of fall set in. At that point, it's best to tear them up and dispose of them. They're inexpensive. Their care is not difficult, and the investment on the part of a person growing them is fairly minimal. A tree is not like a tomato plant. It becomes part of the landscape. For a small farm, it can provide generations of regular and abundant food, and with thoughtful care and pruning, it can last forever. Its value can be immense, and it's likely that the landowner in the story knows this is the case. The vine dresser knows it to be the case. They both desire to see fruit from the tree, but the owner is ready to shift his investment elsewhere. The vine dresser, however, recognizes that the plant could yet be salvaged, and he bides his time. 1 more year. Let me nurture it 1 more year. Don't give up hope for it just yet. This can be salvaged. This tree can bear fruit. While it may not have happened on schedule, sometimes things need a little more attention and tending to reach their potential. This is what the work of the ministry of Jesus is like. People are not beyond hope. When most of us would have given up on a fruitless person as a lost cause, Jesus asks for 1 more year, just a little more time. God shows this patience with us. Jesus tends to us with patience. He doesn't easily give up hope for our ultimate fruitfulness when we fail to produce in season. In fact, the vine dresser goes above and beyond. He shifts his attention to the special case, sets aside the specialization of a vine dresser to take up the identity of gardener for its sake. He puts great energy and effort into the redemption of this tree, and Jesus does that with you and me. While he could relish the title of judge and Lord, he takes up the mantle of Savior. He'll dig deep and surround you with the things you need to grow. He asks for one more year, one more chance to spark life. I love you, and I pray today that you would let Jesus tend to your fruitfulness with the knowledge that he sees the potential for you to take deep root and to produce in his vineyard for generations to come.